continued clash with the IWC, I ran into a post that I felt might have been a slight overreaction. It was a post that said, "Big fumble by the WWE. If what I'm hearing is true, Shinsuke Nakamura will be AEW bound. WWE can't keep top free agents interested in sticking around in the company." Now, with all due respect to Shinsuke Nakamura, nothing against this dude, but there's no universe where Shinsuke Nakamura is a top free agent in the wrestling business. You gotta be honest. Shinsuke is a 45-year-old talent who struggles to effectively communicate with a broad audience. That's just the facts of the situation. And I'm not sure how reliable this report is. I don't know for sure that Shinsuke's out the door, but let's play along. And let's say that he's done with WWE and he's headed to AEW. This is just another example that I keep preaching about of Tony Khan scooping up a 40-plus-year-old wrestler whose appeal really only boosters his current fan base. The IWC will overreact to this, no doubt. They will claim huge victory. If AEW picks up Shinsuke Nakamura, they will tout all of these amazing matches, all of these dream matches that Shinsuke and Will Ospreay could have. The problem is nobody's watching. Nobody's going to watch these matches. Correction. You want me to be more specific, IWC? Casual fans are not going to be drawn to a Shinsuke Nakamura versus Will Ospreay match. It's just, it doesn't have the appeal that you think it is. Right now, if you want to be honest, the appeal of Shinsuke Nakamura to me as a casual wrestling fan was that he kind of had a cool samurai gimmick. He had cool imagery. He had a cool theme song. But once the bell rang, Shinsuke didn't really do it for me. He didn't, like, nothing he did in the ring was so outstanding. When I talk about the thing that gets guys over with a casual wrestling fan base is you have to do one thing extremely well. And I can't point to that thing with Shinsuke Nakamura, right? So to me, this goes deeper to a point that nobody's talking about. And I know that the White Knights of the IWC are going to show up, but when you can't communicate with an English-speaking crowd, it becomes extremely tough to get over. Now, there's people who do it, right? Io Sky's done a good job, but for the most part, when it comes to communicating with a English-speaking crowd, if you cannot communicate in a ring, live and in person, it gets tough to get over. There's a rough reality in wrestling, right? Wrestling is a global audience, no doubt about it, but the reality is 90% of televised shows occur within the United States and Canada. That's raw, hard facts. And a lot of what we feel as wrestling fans tends to be based on what the live crowd reacts to. Not 100%, but as casual wrestling fans, we tend to get behind whoever the crowd has anointed the chosen being for professional wrestling. Now, you can go to certain cities, right? You could go to smart cities like New York or Chicago, and those crowds will pop for the more indie appealing guys. But the reality is most American cities have bias. That is just a reality. You call it racist. I don't think it's racism. I think everybody tends to identify with somebody who speaks the way they do. But like I said, it is tough to get over without a very strong backing and a very strong push. At 45 years old, Shinsuke Nakamura was just not going to get that backing. He was not going to get the backing that he needed to get over and grow an audience in the United States. WWE is in a very interesting position right now with that. They have this abundance of talent, main event talent at that they currently don't have the need to really entertain the idea of keeping niche talent like Shinsuke Nakamura. The reality is with your Jey Usos and your LA Knights being sort of right now what you would consider the mid-card, WWE is in the position to let a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura walk if that's what he wants to do. And what does he really bring to a company like AEW? Because I think WWE weighs that into consideration when they see somebody who is going to leave. They go, does this guy put the other company in a much stronger position? And with Shinsuke, I just really don't think he does. I think he will strengthen the audience that they already have, but he won't grow the brand. He doesn't move the needle for fans that aren't already watching AEW. And this is an argument I make all the time about AEW, and that is AEW has to decide whether they want to grow and become a big boy wrestling company, or if they're happy where they are. Because to talk to the IWC, they'll tell you all the time that AEW will and can be a competitor of WWE, but on the flip side, they recruit and grab wrestlers that really kind of bolster and lock into the IWC sicko small portion of the wrestling audience, and it just doesn't align with the messaging that AEW tries to give, that we're a growing company and just give us time, and we just need, we're a young company. You're a young company who runs exactly like an indie company, and to me, if you don't start to try to think outside of the box of just solidifying this indie sicko audience, guys like Shinsuke Nakamura just aren't going to do it. So the reality to me is WWE isn't dropping a ball here. Sure, I'm sure they would have kept Shinsuke Nakamura if he wanted to stay, but the reality is if his contract's running out and he decides he wants to go somewhere else, I don't think WWE's dropping a ball. I think that in reality, it's a little bit of addition by subtraction, right? At a certain point, some of these 40-plus-year-old wrestlers are going to have to move out of the way for the younger next generation of kind of up-and-coming NXT talent that WWE has in abundance. If a Shinsuke Nakamura leaves, it's just going to create more room for a Carmelo Hayes, who in reality, to me, is being held back right now because of some of these 40-plus-year-old holdovers that are part of the company. The reality is, to me, I don't even like LA Knight being a United States Championship. These guys who are 40-plus are going to have to figure out how to get it done on that next level to be a world champion, because they're clogging up the mid-card and not allowing guys like Carmelo Hayes, who is way overdue for the opportunity to hold a mid-card title. That we're going to have to get some of these guys kind of out of the way. A great rule of thumb would be, I wouldn't leave a mid-card title on a guy who's 40-plus years old, like a Shinsuke or an LA Knight. I wouldn't leave that title on them for longer than a few months at a time, and they would be transitional champions to put over someone like a Carmelo Hayes. That's just my